Carl Ravitch kind of to join us now, ESPN lead baseball commentator. You can check out coverage of spring training. Carl's going to be on the call alongside Eduardo Perez and Buster Olney on ESPN at 1 p.m. Eastern Monday as the Braves visit the Tiger. But now joining us from the beautiful Jacksonville Airport. How you doing, Ravi? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's good to be on with you guys. Always good to see you guys. It's good to know that baseball's in the air. I think the WBC is going to kind of dominate talk here, but where I roam up and down the Florida coast, there's a lot of optimism. There's some pessimism, and I'm in Jacksonville because I'm going to Knoxville for a college basketball game. So we can talk anything you guys want.
Well, at least you're in Florida by a beach instead of up in the east where the snow is. So you get to you hang out on the beach.
I was walking this morning. I came down here honestly to be with a granddaughter. I mean, Golick will have a hard time believing this, but now I have 3 grandchildren. One was born just 7 days ago, so I got a chance to see her.
Awesome.
And while we were out walking, we saw a pug dog, which I know is near and dear to all of our hearts. There's a nice guy who has Lily, 2-year-old, gorgeous pug. And I said, what number is this? Because once you get a pug, you always have. It was his 8th pug dog. 8th.
Wow.
That's a labor of love, man. That is beautiful to me. Pugs everywhere.
Oh, I applaud that. Boy, that is awesome.
That home has got to be a beautiful symphony of loud snoring at night here and heavy breathing, which we all appreciate. Sing me the song of my people. While we could sit here and celebrate pugs all day. Let's celebrate baseball. And Carl, you mentioned the World Baseball Classic and how that could dominate. We saw the video of Shohei Otani taking batting practice in front of this incredible crowd of onlookers, knowing he's such a massive superstar in his home country of Japan here. I guess just first off, I mean, forget just baseball. Is he one of the biggest sports stars that we have in the world right now? And how has this changed maybe the way Major League Baseball operates in moments like the WBC and playing the game abroad early like they did last year?
Yeah, really good. That's a great question. And I'll be honest, I mean, last year during the postseason and certainly during the World Series, I think I put out there on X, it's really difficult to understand how popular he is, A, in his country, and then B, here in the United States. But as soon as I suggested that he is amongst the Mount Rushmore of those that are in sports who are that popular, I got crushed by F1 drive people and soccer people. So I'm gonna stay out of the lane of he is the most popular or one of. To me, in the world of baseball, it's not close. I mean, he's made people forget about the Mike Trouts of the world, and again, injuries have also made people unfortunately forget about Mike Trout. Hopefully, that changes this year. But there's nobody that comes close. And what he's done on the field and off the field for the Dodgers in giving them the financial freedoms that they enjoy to bring in Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker and add them to a championship roster, it speaks volumes. And he is by far, I think Ichiro is maybe number 2 on this list through the course of the years that I covered it. And Jeter is in the top 5 and Judge is probably up there. It's not close. I mean, Otani is that different. He's the Tom Brady when it comes to popularity as Brady was to his own success in the world of football. There's nobody that comes close.
Where is the WBC in competitiveness compared to hockey's 4 nations last year and what we just finished, the Olympics?
Yeah, I would say, Mike, growing, and the likelihood that it's a Olympic sport in 28, baseball can figure out their labor stuff and maybe get them back on the field so that they're available to play in 28. Growing. And I think this year, because of the players on that roster, will be massive. I really do. I think on the heels of the Olympics, where there's a lot of national pride with regards to sports, that what the WBC is going to do on a platform like Fox is going to amplify it. And when you see Judge on the same field as Skubal and Skeens and Harper and Bobby Witt Jr., you get the buy-in from the stars, which you didn't always get. So you got that now. You have the recognizable ones. You got the young ones. They're determined to beat Otani in his country. So I think it's going to be very, very big and huge by 28 if it becomes an Olympic sport. The timing of it and the people that are playing are tremendous.
All right, a lot of optimism around that. You mentioned going up and down the coast and seeing some of the optimism in spring training. We know the Dodgers, obviously, heavy favorites to go and become the first three-peat champion since the early 2000s Yankees. Yeah. Who else do you think has the most cause for optimism right now based on the way they acquitted themselves this offseason?
Yeah, I would say Toronto. I mean, I think one thing that gets lost because the Dodgers made it back-to-back was how close they were to losing that thing. You know, there was a great catch in the outfield. There was a Miguel Rojas home run. The Blue Jays could have easily been the World Series champions. I love what they did in the offseason. I know they lost Bo Bichette, but their pitching is for days. I think they're really good. I think Seattle's got a really good chance. I like what the Mets did. I think the Yankees, people forget that they didn't necessarily do a lot in the offseason. Garrett Cole's coming back and was throwing 98. They have Cam Schlittler now. They have Max Fried and Carlos Rodon. They're really good. They brought Bellinger back. So I guess the other way to look at this would be, I think baseball is different than the other sports in that if you offered me the Dodgers or the field to win the World Series, even with the additions that they made, I would lean into the field.
Wow.
A team that we're probably not going to talk about for the playoffs, but all of a sudden another potential superstar is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Have Paul Skeens, who already is a star in Skeens, and Connor Griffin, this 19-year-old teenage phenom. What are we to make of the Pirates with these two stars?
No, I'm glad, because I was going to make sure that we touched on them. Given how good he is at 19, and this is another Bobby Witt Jr. type guy who, if you read some of the articles about him, was destroying force plates and doing things that superstars haven't done before him. He's got apparently, the composure and makeup of Aaron Judge, which is second to none. And you do have Skeens there. They have some other players, Reynolds on that team. They have good players. Do they have the depth that you need to compete? No, but they're certainly going to be excited. And I think when you think about maybe Washington, when the Nationals had Strasburg and Harper and Scherzer and won a World Series, they were a disaster in that first half. Remember, they did not have a good first half. They have great individual talent. They go on and win that World Series. I'm not suggesting by any stretch that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to win a World Series. But stranger things have happened, and baseball is a unique sport, and they certainly can still go out at the deadline if they're competitive and make a move. You get frustrated in our sport, guys, because you have talent like Skeens and Skubal, and the assumption is, well, he's just going to end up at a big market team because they can pay him and we can't. Let's hope that this next collective bargaining agreement can address some of those things so you can grow up rooting for the name on the front of the uniform and not just the one on the back, because the one on the back is going to leave. That's really what our sport needs, is the ability for all teams to retain their superstar players. And Pittsburgh is going to be a great example of, boy, if we let them get away, or thank goodness things changed and we can keep them.
Carl, what do you think is the path towards that? We know this upcoming CBA has a lot of conversation because everyone looks at the Dodgers and says this sport is going towards needing a cap, or people wanting a cap in it. What do you see as the pathway to what you just described, smaller market teams being able to keep more of their homegrown talent?
Yeah, again, I mean, because this is collectively bargained, I don't know the answer. I don't necessarily believe that it has to be a salary cap. I got to believe there are other ways to do this thing, because salary cap seems like such a non-starter. And if you walk into a room and it's a non-starter, what's the real point of continuing to knock on that door if the door is never going to open? We have some very smart, very creative, very loyal people, certainly on the player side with Bruce Meyer there. Not sure that it becomes any easier to get a deal done. I will say this: I think the frustrating part for baseball fans is coming off a season and a postseason and World Series, which was so great. Don't hang your hat on the fact that baseball's got all this momentum and that's going to be enough to keep them from locking out. That ain't going to happen. Baseball's, I think, interested, both sides, in making sure that the future is one in which teams can all be competitive. There's got to be a way to get there. I don't know the answer. I don't think it's necessarily a salary cap. Maybe it ends up being a salary cap. But you have people that know that the future is what's important here. And how do we get the Royals and the Pirates to be able to retain their great players and not necessarily live in the past because we just had a great World Series? And you know the other arguments, and they're very real. Major League Baseball, prior to the Dodgers, hasn't had a repeat champion. I think you'll find that most of the teams that compete in the postseason tend to be the same ones. So parity is sort of a malleable, elastic word that can be used for your convenience, whichever way you want to use it. But I know there's a deal out there to be made. I don't know that it involves a hard cap. But if it does, whatever it will take to make it so that all 30 teams have a legitimate chance to retain players, be competitive for a World Series, and allow their fan base that starts when they're about 3, 4, 5 years old to stay fans of those teams, as opposed to get all pissed off when a player leaves when they become eligible for free agency.
So we have a couple of 40-something pitchers, Max Scherzer back in Toronto and Justin Verlander back in Detroit. While we'd love storybook endings for these careers, what are realistic expectations?
Well, I mean, Scherzer almost won a World Series last year, obviously, with the Blue Jays. You know, Verlander, unfortunately, has seen himself break down a little bit. We actually have the Tigers in Lakeland Monday against the Braves, so we'll be able to see him. Look, he's joining a team that has Skubal and Framber Valdez on it, probably the best team in that division, and probably one that can compete for a league championship. So there's a chance he's a factor. Clearly, he's not obviously like they once were aces of the staff. But I don't know, I spent a ton of time with the Blue Jays in the postseason last year. And when you see the impact that Scherzer has on the younger players and the younger pitchers, and it doesn't necessarily, and you guys both know this, have to be, you know, talking to them. It can be observing the way they go about their business. In Toronto, Kevin Gossman was a huge help to the young pitchers on that staff. So their contributions may not necessarily be with strikeouts or wins and losses. They're certainly going to contribute in other ways, but both Toronto and Detroit, I think, are capable of competing for league championship series and thus getting into the World Series. So the fairy tale ending wouldn't necessarily be Verlander or Scherzer winning Game 7, but it certainly can be a huge contributor to a team that they're on winning a World Series, no doubt.
Would be incredible to see, certainly. And listen, after last year with what we saw with Clayton Kershaw, maybe you can't rule out the storybook ending for some all-time greats like that. We'll wait and see. Carl, always appreciate the time. Safe travels. We appreciate you giving us pug content from the beach, baseball content from the airport. You do it all, man. We appreciate you.